core values in life and business are the ways that we navigate through the things that we do. And I think that business is a natural extension of personality. For me in my own journey, the more that I've worked on personal development, the more the business has been an extension. I've wrote about this extensively in my book. And so the core values was, what are we actually doing here? For us, making money, that's great. We always aspire to make money, but making money should be an iteration from good work for a good reason. And that's very, very important. So, in real estate, looking at community, looking at people, looking at the way that we deal with our investors, the way we deal with all the people that are involved that make these projects, your contractors, your vendors. It's very, very important that you know who you are, because until you really know who you are and what you're trying to do, because you can't be everything to everybody. And so this was a way for us to kind of lay out what those important elements are, and then make sure that we're drawing off of them to build the type of business, build the type of identity that we can be proud of, and also can make the outsized returns that we're ultimately looking to make. Transparency and fairness is very important in the investment business. When I was on Wall Street for many years, you saw just how opaque, for lack of a better word, the business can be. And so I figured when you're dealing with investors, certainly high net worth investors, accredited investors, the type of due diligence that they're capable of doing doesn't have naturally the level of sophistication that some of the institutions are. So you can look at that one of two ways. You can look at that way as an opportunity to better educate them on the way that the business is actually done. You can use it as a way to make things more simple, because I find like people sometimes try to make concepts more complicated, whether to stroke their own ego, whether to appear smarter, whether to be deliberately misleading. All of the reasons are not good reasons. So, what we've done is we've talked about extensively is we use a third-party fund administrator that handles all of the reporting, so that it's very easy for our clients to access their data rooms, to see their quarterly reportings, to be able to access their legal documents, and a slew of other things that help them better understand not only their investments, but the way that the investments are actually culminating in the way they're actually going. And so I think it's very important to make that user friendly, but you don't want to make it, too simple. As Einstein once said, make everything as simple as possible, but no simpler. But this is it. But this is a very important way for us to better identify, and not only that, but it also helps you build better relationships, because the more that you can talk about things in an open manner, I think it just fosters more trust, which fosters longer term relationships and a slew of other important things. Fairness, I think, is just an important element of life. I think that, zero-sum games just never work. When you talk about alignment of interest and these concepts of how we actually work with people, I think that fairness is that piece, because, if you're giving something, you're getting something, you're giving something, you're getting something. That's the nature of a contract. And there's a way to do that in a way that everybody walks away feeling like their cup has been filled versus walking away feeling like something has been taken. And I think that basic element of fairness is it should be at the core of anything that you do that involves relationships. Respect, I think, is very important in general. First, starting with, self-respect. And a lot of these values, as I've talked about, I believe are the way the staff and the vendors, the contractors, should first honor their own work. I've said for many years that my work is my worship. The way that I go about my day is dedicating, 20 hours a day for the last 20 years of my life. Just for money wouldn't be worth it. We'd have to be building something that is meaningful, that I believe will have a legacy that my children can be proud of, that the children of our clients can be proud of, that'll last the test of time. And that starts with respecting yourself. And then in doing that, respecting other people's opinions, respecting differing opinions. And what we talk about a lot is, we don't need to be right per se, but we do want the right answer. And the way that you do that is by listening to differing opinions, listening to what we call believable people. And so in this concept of the dialogue of going back and forth when you disagree, there's a way to do that in a thoughtful way, where the best ideas can come to light. And a lot of times friction is what brings that out. So when you have mutual respect for yourself and for others, it's easier to have those conversations that have friction that inevitably make that spark that make great things happen. Courage is something that my father always said, growing up, is that, courage is not that you're not scared, because I think fear is a very powerful emotion, because when you're scared, your senses are heightened. You're really in your best self. Your back is up against the wall. Your creativity flourishes, and you find a way to make things happen. And so I think fear is a great mechanism that can be used, and you can't have courage unless you're scared. And if you're doing something great, you're venturing out to do something that you believe to be monumental, whether that's being a great father, whether that's going into battle with your troops serving your country, whether that's building a great business, navigating economic climates. If you don't have a little bit of fear, either you're dumb, or you're reckless. And we don't aspire to be either one of those. So having a healthy dose of understanding your own mortality and putting yourself in a corner that you can be your best self is what courage is. Because as I've said, it's not courage is not being fearless. It's actually being scared, but knowing that something is so important that you have to push past your own physical limitations, your own emotional limitations, and go out and do it, because the value of that is that important. And we believe the work that we're doing as custodians of community, of helping shape the cities that we're building, is that important. Can it be scary? Yes. But is it worth it? Absolutely. Creativity is the only way that great things actually happen. No one ever did anything great by copying somebody else. That's just simple. As an individual, as a business, there's certain parameters and guidelines, especially in the real estate business, of how financing mechanisms work, the way that multifamily properties are built and designed. And so it's not that you're out there breaking the mold and changing everything and making the walls this way and that way. And, it's about using the parameters of how the game is played. It's like basketball, right? There's certain rules of how basketball is played, but the creativity of how Steph Curry or LeBron James navigate the basketball, that's where creativity happens. And that's really the point, is how can you use topography to navigate great architectural design? How can you, the unit counts that you have in a multifamily development, to actually help respond to the areas that you need, of how many people can actually live within these communities respectfully, and all of these different pieces of how you navigate certain environments is what creativity is. Without creativity, you can't have something that's unique. You can't have something that's great. So we encourage our staff, we encourage our vendors, we encourage our communities to come with their best ideas. And that goes all across the board, whether it's the color palettes, whether it's the architectural design, whether it's the way that we finance these mechanisms. I think it's all very, very important to respond to the way that the landscape is changing, using artificial intelligence of this fourth industrial revolution. These are all creative mechanisms. Creativity is not just, taking a piece of paper and doing finger paint. It's the way that we evolve ourselves, evolve our businesses, and evolve the way that we actually do business. Kaizen is a concept I learned from Japanese culture, which I have a tremendous amount of respect for. And it's been said in many ways in Western culture. I saw Tony Robbins iterate with it with the acronym CANI. And basically, Kaizen is a dedication to constant, never-ending improvement. And I've kind of added to that a little bit with my own kind of creativity. It's constant, never-ending improvement until the day that I die. And basically what that means to me is that you can't ever rest on your laurels. You have to have a dedication to learning, to expansion, and an inherent humility that you don't know everything. And as an English literature major, and as an attorney, as someone that is, obsessed with reading and books, anybody that knows me knows that you'll always find me with a book in my hand. You come to find that the more you read, the more you're aware of the less you know. And it's only people that don't understand a subject that think that they know it. The masters know in varying arts how little they know the more that they work on it. And Kaizen is a way that we can all be very cognizant with a level of awe and a level of humility. And I think humility is used very incorrectly in our culture, that humility has some way of thinking less of yourself, or being quiet in certain instances. True humility comes from seeing how great things can be and being in awe and actually looking at the greatness of the world, of the trees, of a great architecture, of a great work of art, and just sitting back just with a smile, almost a smirk, like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. And in knowing that greatness, realizing that you're sitting at the feet of the masters. And in this business, somebody built the pyramids, and effectively we're in the same business. So when you look at the pyramids and you look at building multifamily in Austin, you have a way of being a little bit humble in the process. But I believe, especially in this world, information technology grows exponentially. But what they don't often say, and that's an incomplete statement, is that information technology grows exponentially, but it also accelerates exponentially. So that if we're not in a state of constantly improving, constantly sharpening our pencils and looking at the landscape differently, we're going to be left behind. And the reason, great businesses at one point fail is because they're not agile. They don't evolve to the changing landscapes. They stay stuck in their ways, whether from a mentality standpoint, from a business model standpoint. And Kaizen is a way for us to stay very cognizant that we have to be wildly dedicated to a constant, never-ending improvement. Relationships should be the first core value, quite frankly, because relationships rule the world, period. The relationship that we have, starting from with our parents, the first relationship that I think that, most of us have as individuals, or with our caretakers, you come to find that everything is a relationship in any way, shape, or form. The way that you talk to yourself, that little internal dialogue, or that little inner roommate that you have within your head that seems to never shut up, and all the people around you. We know that people do business with people they like. It's really that simple. It's not the best technology products that make the most money. It's the ones that have the best relationship to the marketplace. It's the ones that the people that we deal with. It's not that we're perfect people, we do everything right. It's that you've invested in those people so much that they forgive you for your shortcomings. So for us, being obsessed with our investors, obsessed with the people that we're in business with, and constantly working to water that garden, is the way that this business has grown. And I've studied the greatest businesses in the world for a living. One thing I learned from Jeff Bezos, and one of the core values of Amazon, is obsess over customers. And the word is obsess, not care for, not take care of, not just send quarterly reports. It's obsess. And the more that you do that, and we say at Rastegar about, in terms of business development, whether we're looking for new deals, we're procuring debt, we're procuring new equity, people might call that sales. And we always say that at Rastegar, we don't make sales, we make friends. And actually doing that, and the way that you can actually make friends is asking very authentic questions. And there's no way to go about doing that in a nuanced way. You have to play full out, or it doesn't work. And I think that the people that have the best relationships in the world, look throughout your life, in anything of any position of authority, there's always a great relationship. Look at the greatest artists. It was the apprenticeship that they have. Look at the relationship of Aristotle and Plato, and all the way up to the greatest business people in the world. There was always a great relationship that's lasted the test of time. And for us, our number one investment is not real estate. Our number one investment is in relationships.